Hi everybody, this is Krista of Bluminate on Instagram. This is my first YouTube tutorial. It's a screensaver tutorial, so I hope that helps you, but please be kind because I'm not an expert in Silhouette and I definitely am not an expert at tutorials, but I will try to do my best to show you how to make this calendar. This will be the first project that we'll make, and it is using the Halloween digital kit that Christy Tomlinson is currently offering right now on her Etsy shop. You can search Christy Tomlinson in Etsy. It is currently being offered as a fundraiser. I'm not sure how much longer it will be available, but it's for a good cause. So let's get started. So I am using a pointer here. So wherever my mouse goes, the pointer is going to follow the highlighter, the blue ring. And when I click on something, it is going to highlight to red. So that's how you'll know that I have selected something. So I really hope that this helps. So you can select a new document. So we're going to select a new document, and then we need to do our registration marks. So we're going to go to registration marks, and I'm selecting the type 1 cameo portrait curio. So now you'll see that the registration marks are now appearing on the mat. You can change the length, thickness, and inset of your registration marks, but for the purpose of this, I'm just going to keep it at what my settings are. And I notice that the print line is not showing up, so I'm going to go to File, Print Page Setup, and this is the printer that I'm using. If you check the paper size, you can do borderless or letter. I'm going to select letter just so that you can see that the print line, that's your print line, and the red line is your cut line. So everything that you design for a print and cut project, you want to make sure that it stays within the red line, because then you know that it will print and it'll cut. Anything that goes out of that will just print, it won't cut. I'm going to take this feature off because I like to have my page borderless in case I do like digital papers, then I can print all the way to the edge. So for me, it doesn't matter. It's all about preference. So next we need to adjust the cutting mat just in case you're working with a cameo. So I'm going to select that first option, which I believe is page size. So we're going to go to the drop down for the cutting mat. You select cameo, the 12 by 12 inch mat, and it will change your mat. You'll see it in the background. It changed. For me, I like to use a portrait for my stickers, die cuts, and majority of my projects. So I'm going to change the mat back down to a portrait size. And the main reason is because the sticker paper is an 8.5 by 11, the cardstock that I use is an 8.5 by 11, and the portrait's a cheaper machine. It's more compact, so it just makes sense to me. So next I'm going to want to go to the far left hand corner and select that rectangle, but I want to select draw a rounded rectangle. That's the option that I want to use for this project. And just draw a rectangle. It doesn't matter what size it is because we're going to adjust that later. I'm going to make a mistake here, which is a good lesson for you to learn. Click undo, and you want to change your mouse to the select tool, the pointer there, or you're going to continue to make boxes and keep drawing boxes. So that'll allow you to select the box. Next, we want to go to the far right hand side of the screen and look for the 3 columns that look like they're falling down like Tetris. That's the open the transformation panel. Next, you're going to want to select the second option that's a diagonal line. That will open up your scale option. We're going to go down to the width and the height and adjust that. And I'm going to adjust my width to a 4.25, and the height is going to be a 3.25. Next, this little locking mechanism on the side, the lock, that is to lock your aspect ratio. So if you click it locked, it's going to keep your width and your height equal. If you keep it unlocked, then you're going to be able to manipulate one or the other. I like to keep it locked, so I'll hit apply, but you'll notice when I hit apply, it changed the width and the height because I need to lock it after. So let's change the width and the height back to 4.25 and the height back to 3.25. Click apply and then click lock. Next, we're going to head over again to the far right hand side and select the star. That's the offset feature. So this will create an outside border around. So click the offset, and I'm going to change this to I'm going to actually keep it at a 1.25, although you can change it and play around with it. But for this purpose, I'm going to just keep it at 0.125 and click apply. So you'll see around your first initial box that you drew, it created an exterior box on the outside. Next, we're going to go to line style, which is the fourth option from the top, a bunch of lines. Then you want to select line color. Right now it's on line style. And you'll see that both of your boxes are red. We want to change one, the exterior that it's clicked on right now. We want to click the blue because I want to change that blue. That's going to be your bleed out line. I usually use blue for trace lines and red as cut lines. But again, that's completely preference. I learned from other YouTube videos. So that's just what I've always done. If you click on the interior box, you'll see that it has changed red on your color palette there. The next step, we want to make sure that we are highlighted on the blue box, the bleed out line, and we are going to go to our clip art. There's different ways to do this. You can import it, I just drag and drop it. It's just the easiest for me. So I'm going to look for my digital papers. That's the first thing I'm going to do. And I'm going to find it, and again, it's as easy for me to just drag and drop. You can do other research for how people import papers and digital art. So I'm going to drag and drop it, and when I drag and drop it, I'm going to want to make sure that I am dragging it onto my silhouette mat, but into that blue box. You'll see that it's going to go into the red box first. That's your cut. I want it to bleed out. So this is the box that I want it on. See, it can also take over your whole document. So just be careful about this. It is tricky, but once you get the hang of it, it'll be much easier. I'm going to zoom in and do this step again so that you can see it better. So let's go and grab our clip art. Our digital paper. Drag and drop it. And you'll see I'm going to extend it out and hover over for the blue line. Next, I'm going to select the open fill panel. That is the third option from the top on the far right. So now from here, you could change your fill, or you can we're going to select the third option, which has the polka dots on it. That's so that I can manipulate the existing pattern background. So if you click down advanced, it's going to pull up a bunch of other options. I'm going to just pull this up because I definitely want to use the feature that's on the bottom, so you'll be able to see it better this way. I'm going to change the opacity. You can use the slider scale, or you can input a number, or you can use the buttons to go higher or lower. So I'm pretty sure I think I want to change this to like an 80. And then I'm going to go down, and you can change the scale of it, so you can make it smaller or larger. You can also, let's see, I think this is about the size that I like it. You can also angle it and rotate it any direction. This may help for if you're doing stripes or some pattern that you want at an angle. I'm going to keep it as is. Now I want to pan it, but see, there's two circles in here. You want to make sure you're getting the circle, the smaller one that's on the inside. So here you can move it, and your design is going to pan around. So you can choose the placement where you want it. You're going to be able to do this again later after you have your clip arts on there. So don't worry too much about this step. I just wanted to show you while we were in this screen what the options are. Next, we're going to get our clip art. So I'm going to search for my clip art, and again, I do the drag and drop method just because it's easier for me. I'm going to search for, I am looking for the witch, and I'd like the pumpkin with those florals. And what I do here is I just kind of pull things that I think I might want to use and just drag it on the left hand side, the gray shaded side. I call that like my work area. So I'm going to maybe I want to use the spider. We'll see. And I'm going to grab the witch, and I'm not sure which witch I want to use, so I will just grab both of them. It really won't matter. You can drag and drop and store as many things as you want on your project, just as long as it's not on the white part of your project. So now I am going to, let's see, am I looking for other options, other clip art? Maybe the hat. No, I'm good. Also, I'm not sure if you've noticed when I'm dragging this cat over, it's trying to overtake some of my clip art. So just be careful about the placement. I'm just going to put it off to the side, and now let's work with the clip arts. Let's have the fun. Now I'm just going to resize these just to kind of move them, make them smaller, move them onto the side, just so that I have more space to work at and I have a better idea of what I may want to use. So let's just move these off, because you definitely want to make sure that nothing is on your mat. You don't want to just keep everything on the gray side. At least that's what I do. Okay, now comes for the designing part. I am deciding what I want to use first. I am going to layer the pumpkin with the florals down first, place it on there. You want to make sure whatever you place on the outside of that red cut line is going to be cut off. So, and whatever is outside the blue will not print. So I'm just going to slide this over. You can, I'm going to change the transparency, or you can if you want. So let's change the transparency, and then I think I'm going to grab the witch, and do you see that she is going behind the clip art, or actually she's in front. So it's up to you if you want to send her back or front. So if you send her back, she's going to be behind, do you see that, behind the pumpkin and the florals? So now I'm going to move her around to the placement that I want, and I'm going to resize her. So let's see, and keep in mind anything on the outside of the red is going to cut. So I want to make sure her hat, her dress, and her skirt and her shoes are all in. Next, I'm going to right click because I want her in front of the pumpkins. So I'm going to right click and select bring to front. See, and now she is in front of the pumpkin and the floral arrangement. Next, we're going to do our calendar. So my calendar is going to differ from this tutorial, but this was just the easier way for me to show you. One option would be to create a calendar in Excel, and what I did was I created like a template and kept it on my mat. For this, I am going to just I created a calendar in Excel. I just put the dates. I know that the date is off because October started on Sunday, but that's okay. That's something you guys can do for your calendar. But just purposes of this tutorial, you create the calendar and you're going to want to highlight it and right click copy, and we're going to go into our silhouette document, right click and hit paste, and there you see it. I'm going to resize it. Again, always resize your items in from the corners so that it doesn't distort it, but for this I can distort it. It's okay. It's not gonna bother me that the aspect ratio is a little off, so I'm just gonna pull it down just to kind of fill and make it the right size. So you can go ahead and play around with it just to get to the placement and the size that you want. Normally, if you were doing this with a clip art, it would distort your image and make it wonky, like short and wide, and it just would ruin the integrity of the clip art. But for this calendar, it's fine. So now I think I like the placement of this for now. I need to go and add in the font or the word for October, because I keep these as templates and I just change the months. I find what the first day of every month is. So now I've selected the font tool and I'm going to type out October, and I'm going to highlight it and go over to the font side and select a font that I want, but actually I should change the line color. So go back to your far right and select the line color, and we are going to select the line color for black. It's up to you what you want. Sometimes I'll make it gray, or if you want to match, you can pick orange or pink or purple. You also want to do the fill. So let's do the fill, the first option on the fill, and change that to black. I'm going to go back to my font and just find a font that you want to use. For this one, I am using Olive Beret, but you can either type in the font on the top or scroll down and search for it. I usually scroll down so I can see what my options are. It takes me forever to find a font that I like that matches the colors or the vibe. So this is the Olive Beret. Another one that I thought was fun is this one right here. So that one looked kind of Oktoberfest. So it's your choice, whatever font you have preloaded in there. So I'm going to select that. And now I'm going to resize it a bit. And then there's other ways to resize it. This is just easier for me. I'm going to place it on here. Where does it look good? Next, there's a way to center this so you don't have to, if you want to be OCD. So select both the text and the calendar. We want to go back to that transform tool option, and we want to keep it on that first one, so align. And if you click that center, it's going to center both the October and your calendar with each other only. So now I'm highlighting everything and right clicking and grouping it so that I can move this wherever I want it to move, and it's not going to take the pieces piece by piece. I don't have to have everything selected. I can just click once and move everything. So the next step would be to replicate it or duplicate it. So we're going to go to our far right hand side, select the replicate, and you can either like duplicate to the right or bottom, or you can do fill page. There's a lot of different options that you can use. You can also like copy paste, you can right click, there's options. So it's really up to you, how whatever your preference is, whatever you're faster. So now you can decide if you want the place, where you want them placed, if you want to print 2 calendars or just 1 calendar, and use some other clip arts that you have prepped to print and cut. Just remember, you need to make sure you have the cut lines for those, and the ones on my left, I did not get those prepped. So I can have 2 calendars here. I'm going to go up to File and Print. And there's my printer information. I'm going to select the quality and media, and I normally change, this is where you have to play around with your own printer, but for mine I usually select the matte photo paper. So this is where you can choose depending on your printer settings and what your preferences are as to quality, if you want to just do standard or you want high, or different printers have different options. So I prefer to do on the matte photo paper, and I like to change my print quality to high. So I'm actually not going to print this because my printer's not set up, but the next step would be to send to your silhouette. So once you send it to your silhouette, this screen's going to pop up. And if you notice, you've got a lot of things going on the left-hand side, and we only want the red the box to cut. So you need to deselect the blue and any other options that are selected. You just want the red to show up. And here I am showing you, these are my settings that I've found that work best for my silhouette, and I'm cutting at on 80-pound standard cardstock. So you can adjust your blade, the speed, the force, the passes. All these options that I'm showing you right here are adjustable. But you definitely want to make sure that just that red box is showing, because everything inside that is going to cut. You definitely don't want this blue line to be shown, because that was where we bled the pattern paper out, so it will not cut a white border. Then you just hit send and you cross your fingers and hope for the best. Just kidding. Mine is not connected, so that's why you see it says not connected there. And there is a way that you can set your own, program it with your settings so that you don't always have to fidget it or reprogram. So if you pull this down, you'll see there's different options here. And if you want to select one that they have already preset, like cardstock or something, that's fine. You can also change and adjust it from there. And then once you find those settings, then you can go ahead and save those as a custom setting. But usually I would play around with the force and the pass. But oops, this is a good time. I forgot. Make sure you save your projects. Always save your projects. It's a bad habit of mine. So if it does shut down, it may or may not pop up as a recovered document, but definitely save it to your hard drive. You can save it to the library. I prefer to save it to the cloud, to the hard drive. So let's go back here and let's go back to design. So this is where I'm going to see how mine is different. It's because of the transparency. I just did my calendar in a different format, which is a whole nother complex tutorial. So I was looking at the other calendar and I realized we can get it to look a little bit better. So let's go back to that document. And I think I'm trying to explain to you guys how I did this one. It's with little boxes. It's way too much work. So here, if you ungroup it, your calendar and sometimes what I do is I'll use one of those copy ones as my testers because I don't want to mess up one that I know works. So I ungrouped that and I'm going to go to the fill for the background and I'm going to change the opacity or the transparency down so you can see what you'd prefer, but this is going to start to look a little bit better, I think, than what the finished product looked like to you. So I think this here would look better, but I'm deciding that actually if I had made the days of the week and the dates bold, I think that would have been it would stand out better. So I'll bold it, copy, paste it, place it on here. I know it's extra steps. It's all about preference and I just want it to look a little bit better. So I thought I'd show you guys these steps. I'm just going through here. Let's see. Bring to the front because I did created it after, so it's sending it to the back. I'm going to change make it longer, wider, just to position it to where I want it to be. And then let's go back to let's see, that looks just about right. Let's go up to the fill, the background, and I'm going to change the opacity. And do you see as I'm sliding it, the calendar is changing. So it's getting lighter, darker. So again, you can use the slider, you can change the numbers, or use the arrows to go higher or lower. So now I think that looks better. And so I'm going to show you a side-by-side of what they would look like. And maybe it's a little hard to see on this screen, but there is a difference between the left and the right. And I would prefer the left if I was doing it this method. Don't forget, always select all, not select all, but highlight your whole project and right click group so you can move it easier. And here's a side by side. You can see I do prefer the one on the left over the right, but again, it's preference. If you like that bold white calendar, then the right side would work for you. If you want a softer look, then the left side would work for you. I hope this tutorial helped you. I'm still new at this. I'll try better for the next ones, and thanks so much for your support.